All right, so get ready, because we're about to meet a woman who defied all odds. A woman who ruled Egypt.
In the 13th century.
Yeah.
Not just any ruler, though.
No, she was sultan.
That's right,
Her
sultan.
name was Shajar al Durr. And she held the highest position of power, imagine that.
Minted coins in her name.
Yeah, minted coins, commanded armies, the whole 9 yards. So in this deep dive, we are going to explore her life, how she got to that position, and all the incredible things she achieved.
It was a time when it was unheard of for women.
Practically unheard of.
Yeah.
So we're using excerpts from Shajar al Durr, Egypt's warrior queen, to kind of guide us on this journey. And I think it's going to be a really fascinating story.
Oh, definitely. What's amazing is that her story happens during one of the most turbulent periods in Egyptian history, the 13th century, the time of the Crusades.
The Crusades?
Egypt was under the Ayyubid dynasty at the time.
Okay.
And they were facing, well, the full force of the Seventh Crusade.
Led by?
King Louis IX of France.
Of France, okay.
Yeah.
So a lot of upheaval going on.
Constant threat, immense upheaval. Imagine trying to lead during that time.
Yeah.
Just a pressure cooker.
Yeah, I can't even imagine. So to understand how she even rose to power, we need to start at the beginning. Can you tell me about her early life and her path to becoming sultan?
Well, she began as the wife of the Sultan, Ali Ayyub.
Okay.
But her life took a very dramatic turn
When?
when the Sultan died, during the Crusader invasion.
Okay, so he dies during the Crusader invasion. So you'd think, the death of a ruler during a war, that's got to be chaos,
Right.
Instability. But she had other plans.
She did.
What did she do?
She decided to keep his death a secret.
Wait a minute. She hid the Sultan's death with a massive Crusader army coming at them.
Yeah.
I mean, what was the reasoning behind that?
It was a brilliant move,
Mm-hmm.
but also risky. It was strategic thinking at its finest. I mean, think about it. News of the Sultan's death would have been devastating.
Right.
To the morale, to the Egyptian forces. It could have triggered panic.
Infighting.
Yeah, at the worst possible moment.
Yeah.
So Shajar al Durr, she took control,
Okay.
issued orders.
In her husband's name.
In his name, exactly. She was running the show, behind the scenes.
So she was basically like a puppet master,
That's a good way to put it.
keeping everything running smoothly.
Yeah. While the rest of the world had no idea.
But wasn't it difficult to keep a secret like that? Especially back then. I mean, news travels.
Extremely difficult.
Yeah.
It really shows her strength.
Her ability to command loyalty.
Exactly. She understood the balance of power.
Right.
She knew any sign of weakness.
Could be disastrous.
Disaster.
Yeah, for Egypt. So this is blowing my mind already. I mean, she's holding the entire nation together while facing down a Crusader army.
Exactly.
It wasn't just about maintaining things. She was actively leading.
She was. Coordinating defenses, directing the Mamluk army.
The Mamluks.
Yeah.
Now, for those of us maybe who aren't like super into medieval history, can you explain who the Mamluks were and why they were so important?
Oh, of course. So the Mamluks were essentially elite warrior slaves,
Okay.
often of Turkic origin. They were a powerful military caste in Egypt.
Got it.
They played a critical role in its defense.
So very skilled.
Incredibly skilled,
Yeah.
disciplined soldiers. And Shajar al Durr, she knew how to use their strength.
Yeah.
She directed them against the Crusaders at a very pivotal battle. It would determine the fate of Egypt.
So we've got this woman secretly leading, commanding these fierce Mamluk warriors. What happens next?
Well, this is where things get interesting. The Egyptian forces, under her command, clashed with the Crusaders at the Battle of Mansoura.
Okay.
And this was no ordinary battle. This was a clash of civilizations,
Oh, wow.
a fight for survival.
And I'm assuming things did not go well for the Crusaders.
You're right. The Egyptian forces, they were victorious, led by the Mamluks, orchestrated by Shajar al Durr.
Wow.
Decisive victory.
I can only imagine the celebrations in Egypt. I mean, repelling the Crusaders.
Oh, it's a monumental moment.
Yeah.
But not only did they repel the invaders,
Yeah.
they also captured King Louis IX.
No way. They captured the king.
Yeah.
Wow. Imagine that news hitting Europe.
Huge shockwave.
Talk about a power move.
Right.
But I imagine keeping that secret about the Sultan's death, that couldn't have lasted forever.
No, you're right. It couldn't. The victory was secured. The Sultan's death was revealed.
Okay.
And everyone learned about Shajar al Durr's role.
You'd think she'd be hailed as a hero.
Right.
You'd think so.
She saved the country.
Yeah.
Parades, statues, the whole. this is the 13th century.
Exactly.
Right.
That's where her challenges really begin.
This is already incredible. We've got this woman who's leading her nation to victory, secretly keeping the Sultan's death under wraps. I mean, what a story.
It is.
But I have a feeling this is just the beginning of her challenges.
Yeah.
So we left off with, this incredible victory against the Crusaders.
And the world finding out that, hey, a woman was behind all of this, leading Egypt. I mean, what was the reaction when everybody found out?
As you can imagine, it was mixed.
Yeah.
Some were in awe
Of course.
of her courage, her strategic brilliance.
Yeah.
But others, well, they had a hard time accepting it.
Accepting a woman in that role.
A woman wielding that much power,
Yeah.
especially in the 13th century.
Right. Yeah.
It was a different time.
Very different.
Societal norms put limitations on women's roles.
Yeah. It's hard to believe that even after such a victory, she still faced resistance just because she was a woman?
It's true. It really exposes the deeply entrenched patriarchy at the time.
Yeah. I mean, her victory really challenged those structures.
It did, in a way that made a lot of people uncomfortable.
So how did she navigate this opposition? I mean, did she back down?
Yeah.
Knowing what we know about her, I doubt it.
You are right to doubt it.
Yeah.
Shajar al Durr, she wasn't intimidated easily.
No.
She understood power, and she was determined to hold on to it. To legitimize her rule and kind of quiet the dissent, she did something pretty bold.
What's that?
She formally declared herself Sultan.
Wow. She didn't just, step into the role.
No.
She fully embraced it.
She embraced the title.
Sultan.
And get this, she had coins minted in her name,
Oh, wow.
which was a traditional symbol of sovereignty
In the Islamic world.
in the Islamic world, yeah.
Okay. I mean, that's a powerful statement. She's not just a temporary stand-in.
No,
She's the ruler.
exactly.
But that must have made a lot of people upset.
Of course,
Oh.
especially those who thought only a man could hold that position.
Yeah.
It created tension, particularly with the Abbasid Caliphate in Baghdad.
Now, for those of us who may have forgotten or don't know, remind us, what was the Abbasid Caliphate and why did they have a say in Egypt?
Right, so the Abbasid Caliphate, they were the leading Islamic authority at the time.
Okay.
They held a lot of religious and political influence across the Muslim world. Now, Egypt was technically under their jurisdiction,
Got it.
but the Ayyubid dynasty, they had kept some independence. But when Shajar al Durr declared herself Sultan, that challenged their authority.
So she was basically challenging the biggest religious and political entity in the Islamic world.
That's one way to put it.
Wow. I mean, how did they react to that?
They were not happy.
Yeah.
Not happy at all. They demanded a male ruler for Egypt.
Of course they didn't.
They just couldn't accept a woman as Sultan. So this put Shajar al Durr in a tough spot.
Yeah.
I mean, she couldn't just ignore them,
Right.
but she also wasn't about to just give up her power.
This sounds like a no-win situation. How'd she get out of this?
Well, she did what any savvy ruler would do. She entered into a strategic marriage.
Okay. With the...
A powerful Mamluk general
Oh.
named Aybak.
So she used marriage as a political tool to solidify her position.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Smart, right?
Yeah.
By marrying Aybak, it appeased the caliphate.
Because they had a male figurehead.
Exactly. But she was still pulling the strings.
Yeah.
Behind the scene.
It's a brilliant move.
It was calculated
Yeah.
to protect her power, maintain stability.
But I have a feeling this marriage, maybe not so simple.
You're picking up what I'm putting down.
Yeah.
Aybak wasn't content to just be a figurehead.
Of course not.
He wanted power.
Yeah.
Started asserting his authority, challenging her.
So the stage is set for a power struggle between the Sultan and the woman who put him there.
Exactly.
What happens next?
Well, Aybak, he makes a decision that directly threatens her position. He decides to take another wife.
Wait, another wife?
Another wife.
He was already married to the Sultan.
I know.
And he thinks it's a good idea to marry someone else.
It was a reckless move.
Yeah.
Showed his ambition, his disregard
He's
for
a direct challenge to her authority.
It was. And she wasn't going to stand for it.
So now we've got this incredible woman who defied tradition, led her nation to victory, and now she's facing betrayal from the very person she helped put in power. What'd she do?
Well, faced with this challenge, she took a drastic step, a controversial step.
What did she do?
She had Aybak assassinated.
She had her husband killed.
She did. It was a desperate act,
Uh,
driven by the need to protect her power. And maybe A sense of betrayal?
Yeah.
I mean, she had outsmarted so many opponents.
Outmaneuvered them.
She wasn't going to let him take everything from her.
I can understand her feeling trapped, but an act like that, I mean, it must have had consequences.
Huge consequences. Aybak's assassination, it sent shockwaves through the Mamluk leadership.
Yeah.
Divided loyalties.
Right. Some still supported her.
Yeah. But others, they felt betrayed.
And wanted revenge, so the people she had led to victory, they turned against her.
It was a tragic turn. It shows how fickle power can be, how fragile alliances are, especially in a world where you have to be ruthless to survive.
It's heartbreaking. I mean, to see her story go this way, after all her triumphs, now betrayal and isolation, what happened to her?
Aybak supporters, they moved quickly, thirsting for vengeance. They wanted to restore order.
Yeah.
Shajar al Durr, the most powerful person in Egypt, she was captured.
Oh, no. This doesn't sound good. This is heading towards a bad ending.
It is.
Yeah.
Shajar al Durr's story, a story of ambition, of brilliance, of defiance, it ends tragically.
Oh, no.
She was executed.
By the Mamluks.
By the Mamluks, the very people she helped rise to power.
It's hard to believe that a woman who achieved so much, who broke so many barriers, ended her life in such a brutal way. I mean, it's a reminder, of how complex power is and the limitations placed on women, even the ones who defied the odds.
Absolutely.
But her story, it continues to resonate all these centuries later.
It does.
Why is that? What is it about Shajar al Durr that still fascinates us? It's a tragic ending.
Yeah.
But even though her reign was cut short, her impact, I mean, it's undeniable.
It really is.
So let's talk about that, her lasting legacy. What is it about her story that resonates with people centuries later?
Well, I think it's her audacity.
Okay.
Her ability to challenge the status quo. I mean, she just refused to be limited by the expectations for women.
Right, at that time.
At that time, she was smart, ambitious, a master strategist.
Yeah.
She proved that women could be just as effective leaders as men.
Even in war, even in warfare.
It's like she was centuries ahead of her time, almost.
Right.
I mean, her story, it feels so relevant today.
It does.
With the ongoing struggles for women's equality.
Exactly. I think Shajar al Durr's story, it continues to inspire people. Especially women who are fighting for equal opportunities.
Right, recognition.
Recognition. She's a reminder that women have always held positions of power.
Yeah.
Even if history tries to erase them.
Downplay their contribution.
Exactly.
It's not just about gender either. This woman was a skilled politician.
Oh, absolutely. Navigating this complex web of alliances and rivalries, betrayals. I mean, that world was constantly shifting.
It was a world where power was always in flux.
Yeah.
She was a master of realpolitik.
Okay.
She knew how to make tough choices, ruthless calculations. She used everything at her disposal.
Yeah.
Marriage, diplomacy, military force. She was securing her position, achieving her goals.
You mentioned earlier that she had a big impact on the Mamluk Sultanate.
Right.
Can you tell us more about that?
So even though, in the end, she was betrayed by the Mamluks.
Right. Executed.
Executed. She played a critical role in their rise to power.
How so?
Her decisions, her alliances, her marriage to Aybak, all of that shaped the early years of the Mamluk Sultanate.
Which then went on to rule Egypt for centuries.
For centuries, yeah.
It's kind of ironic that the group she helped empower ended up being her downfall.
Tragic irony. It really highlights how precarious power can be.
Yeah, especially for those who challenge the norms.
Right. She's always walking a tightrope.
Ambition versus survival.
And in the end, the forces against her, they were just too powerful.
But her story, it's still told.
It is.
People are still fascinated by her. Why do you think that is?
I think it's because it embodies so many universal themes. Ambition, betrayal, the struggle for power,
Right.
the complexities of gender roles, and ultimately the triumph of the human spirit.
Yeah.
Even against overwhelming odds. She was a woman who broke the mold.
Yeah.
She refused to be defined by her time.
Right.
And even though her reign was short and it ended tragically, her story reminds us that women have always been capable of great things.
Yeah. Even when history tries to silence them.
Exactly.
Her story is inspiring. Heartbreaking, but inspiring. It reminds us that progress, it's not always a straight line.
Right.
The fight for equality, it's met with resistance, sometimes even violence.
Unfortunately, that's true.
But it's a story of resilience,
Absolutely.
of courage, of challenging the status quo. What can we learn from Shajar al Durr's story today, all these centuries later?
I think her story offers us some valuable lessons. First, never underestimate ambition
Okay.
and determination. Doesn't matter your gender, your social standing. Second, Strategic thinking,
Okay.
adaptability, those are key for navigating complex situations. And lastly, we need to challenge those norms.
Yeah.
Fight for a more just world, a more equitable world, where everyone, regardless of gender, have the opportunity to achieve their potential.
Thank you so much for sharing these insights and for bringing her story to life. It's a story that deserves to be remembered, celebrated. And to all our listeners, we encourage you to learn more about this incredible woman and that amazing period in history.